is Clark, and for the CS 555 programming lab number 8, we're required to create three separate programs. One is a C++ program that accepts days as integers and display total of number of years, months, and days in it. The second program that we need is another C++ program to check whether the year provided by user is a leap year or not. The third programming C++ program is basically ask the user for an input string and check if it's palindrome or not, meaning uh, they are like when you flip the the string in the middle, they should be equal. Okay. Additional instruction: three C++ files are to be uploaded. No header, no zip, no rar, with sufficient documentation in the C++ file. Okay, moving on. So for the file structure that I have right now is three separate C++, date.cpp, leap.cpp, and palindrome.cpp. UI requirements: user input in the console, print output in the console. So for the program flow for the first one, I would have the days to date converter. We execute the main program, create date object, then ask user input as integer days. If the input is not an integer or more than the max value of integer, keep prompting the user for new input. So it's like an endless while loop, infinite while loop. Then if it's valid, we now set the years, months, days according to the date format, and output the date to the date user. So let's go ahead and check that code base. At the top, you would see my class date. I would have my public constructor, and I have the set days to set my days. Also, to convert the date, I have another function for that, and print the date. For my private member variables, I would have the years, months, and days. So this one is a constructor. Whenever it's initialized or upon creation of an object, I would assign zeros to the three private member variables. For the set days function is basically we ask the user for an input. Again, if it's not a string, an integer, which is a cin.fail, or it's more than the max of the integer value, the data type, we're gonna go into this loop. We clear the previous input, discard the previous input, prompt the users for a correct way to input numbers, and ask them again to enter number of days. And if this pass, we now go to assigning them to two private member variables, which is input days and days. Use the input days just to keep the original value and not change it. Moving on, and the convert to date function. What we do here is basically keep deducting the number of days until it becomes to the proper format that we want to. So if my days is more than 365, more than 365 days, I would keep subtracting days by 365 and adding 1 to the years, carry over 1. And if that satisfies, I'll now move on ahead to keep deducting days by 30 and carrying over 1 to the months every time I do that. And if that's done, I should be ready to go. And in the print date, basically I want to print the original one, which is input days, and I would print the years, months, and days to the user. So as you can see in the main function, I would have the date object created, set the days by asking the user input. I convert the days to years, months, and days, and print the date to the user. So let's try that out. So first, let's try to put some strings. Sorry for that. Let's change the color theme. How about Dracula? Okay. Let's build. Let's try to use main Enter number of days. That's not a day. This is not a day. And if I put the day, there you go. Let's try it out one more time. With the bigger number. 900. It's 2 years, 5 months, and 20 days. Last one, 365, 1 year, 0 months, 0 days. Okay, let's now move on to the second program. Whoops, let's set this as well to run that later. Let's go back to our README. So, and the program number 2 to check if leap year, we execute the main program, create a leap object, as user input as integers, years, and if input is not integer or more than max value of the integer, keep prompting the user for new input, kind of like the same of the days to date converter. Next, check if it's leap year, and then set the boolean variable is leap year to either true or false, then print the results. We can go ahead and check the code base. And the code base, I would have my leap class, and in the public members would be the constructor leap, and then setting the years, checking is leap year and print the result. Private member variables is just years, and a boolean variable is leap year. And the constructor, upon creation of an object from the leap class, we definitely want to set this to 0, and the years, and also the boolean variable is leap year to false. So for the set years, again, we ask the user for the input there's a prompt, and then if it's not an integer input, and or it's more than the max integer value, clear the previous input, discard the previous input, prompt again the user, and let the user input another integer. And if that's valid, we now can move ahead. And then we have a function to check if the year given is a leap year or not. Basically, there are 3 criteria. If the year is divisible by 4, it's a leap year. So, and if it's not divisible by 4, it's not a leap year, which is here actually, which is not, because again we said that is leap year false. So, if this pass. Basically, it's gonna be not a leap year. Sorry. If this doesn't pass, it's not a leap year. And then if year is divisible by 4, it is a leap year. However, we need to catch first if the year is also divisible by 100. If it's divisible by 100 and it's also divisible by 400, then it's a leap year. Or else it's not. Basically, that's it. Again, just to reiterate, if it's divisible by 4, okay, it's gonna be a leap year. However, if it's also divisible by 100, there's another criteria for this exception is if it's divisible by 100 and divisible by 400, leap year is true. But if it's just divisible by 100 after being divisible by 4, it's gonna be false. Okay, I hope that was clear. Then just basically print the result to the user. This is just another way to output a not a leap year using the is leap year boolean variable. So in the main function, this is program number 2. Create a leap object. We set the years by asking user input for years. Good catch, Clark. And then check if it's a leap year and print the result if leap year or not. So let's go ahead and compile that. Use that. Check first for strings. Doesn't like that. Okay. Let's do that again. Let's go to the top. Okay. 1 is the leap year. Nope. Is 4 leap year? Yes. Clear again. How about if it's divisible by 4? We try that. How about divisible by 4 and 100? This is divisible by 4 and 400. But 100, it's not a leap year. But if it's divisible by 4 and also 100 and also 400, it's gonna be a leap year. Hooray. Okay, now we're done in this program. Let's move on ahead to the last one. Let's change this first. Let's go ahead there. In programming, program number 3, check if palindrome. We basically execute the main program. Forgot about we add this should create the palindrome object, and then as the user input with a string this time, with this word variable. Check if word is palindrome or not, and set boolean variable is palindrome to either true or false. Then print the results to the user. Okay, go ahead. Again, we have the class palindrome. The public members would be the constructor, setting the word, asking the user input is palindrome or not. Basically, that's our logic. Print the results to the user. For private member variables, data member variables, we have the string word, and boolean variable is palindrome. For the constructor, we initialize the string to basically an empty string, and its palindrome is true. And now when we want to set a word, basically we want to ask the user for input string. In this case around, it could get any values. So I didn't have a catch for if it's a string, integer, or whatever. I added this just so you know that if the user inputs an uppercase and a lowercase that should be a match, it won't match. That's for further improvement. But right now, if it's in lowercase or all uppercase, in all uppercase, better. Now that's gonna check the get the input and assign it to the variable word, which is a string data type. And now we move on to the is palindrome. Basically, we want to set the mid length, getting from the length of the string divided by 2. Why is that? So we iterate just only the half of the time instead of like iterating through all of the strings. And now we also set the we call this like a pointer at the back, so that we have in front and in back, and then they move closer to each other every loop. So here's the loop. Loop through the string with pointers at the front, which is the I variable, and at the back with the J variable. I keeps incrementing while J keeps decrementing until they reach the middle. So now the for loop, again, we just want to iterate until the middle of the string. Now, every time we loop, we start at I, J at 0, and J at the word length -1. So that's at the beginning, at the end. So we check if both characters are equal. If yes, we decrement J. I would definitely increment by here. That's why we just need to keep continuing the loop. If ever we see a character not matching, we should assign the boolean variable is palindrome to false. And actually, we should break. We should not keep iterating. And then print the results to the user, again using the is palindrome boolean variable, and just to use the word not or none actually. So in this program number 3, basically we create a palindrome object, set the word, ask the user input, then check if it's a palindrome or not, and then print the results. Sorry about that. Check if it's palindrome and then print results. Now let's try that. We compile. Okay, let's try first not a palindrome. This is not a palindrome. This is a, oops, we have to use that again. Let's do it clear. It's a palindrome. And the limitation if it's a uppercase, lowercase. Uppercase, lowercase, then there you go. How about if we have this one, an even word? A while ago we we're doing the odd words. So here, it's a palindrome. Okay. Another one is Boolean. It's not a palindrome. Okay? Thank you.